GSL. GSL Season 3.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the second half of the semifinals here at the GSL Code S. I'm Tasteless. With me is Wolf. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for Terran versus Terran. I love this matchup, and I love these two players. Innovation, a big fan favorite, and looking like he might be favored to take this TVT today.
Certainly could be. I'm actually leaning a little bit towards Cure here.
Oh, so.
I got a feeling, man. He's been playing so well throughout this entire tournament. It's very interesting that he's been doing so well on the ladder, being rank 1 consistently.
Yeah.
Then again, Innovation is not a bad bet either. By the way, TVT, a matchup we really don't get to cast here at GSL. We've hardly had any TVTs this entire year.
Yeah, it's going to be the first Terran that we have in the finals in several seasons of GSL.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many. It's been a really long time. And one of the first seasons in a while, we have no Protoss in the finals either. So
we had a year of Protosses just owning everything. We had sometimes more than half of the bracket Protoss, and usually it stayed pretty Protoss intensive all the way to the finals. So this is pretty interesting. Last semifinals, by the way, was absolutely incredible. Definitely check out the VODs for that if you missed them. Easily one of the best best of sevens I've ever casted.
Yeah.
In my entire life.
A lot of really good decision makings by both players.
Yeah.
And some adaptations. Don't want to spoil it too much, but definitely go back and watch that if you haven't seen it. It's Zest versus Sue, and it was just 2 days ago, so you can go.
It was incredible. I mean, Zest was playing solo at the start.
Yeah.
But Sue had the right builds to beat him there throughout the end. And it's pretty incredible. So we now have Sue 4 times in a GSL finals, and that's in a row.
Yeah, back-to-back, consecutively. Yeah. That just doesn't happen ever.
That's insane. For any competition, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's going to happen ever again in RTS history.
It may never happen again.
It may never happen again. Now, he didn't win any of those finals that he was in. I guess he's got another chance to win this one here now. So the 2 players that remain in the semifinals, Cure and Innovation, 2 of the best Terrans you could ask for. Innovation has been around for a really long time now.
Yeah, just moved into SK Telecom T1, in fact, just recently. And this will be his first televised match on that team. And he's up against Cure here, someone who just recently lost a TVT finals, actually, but is pretty good in the matchup. And he's on a really strong team. Jineri's got teammates like Maru to practice with, so his TVT's got to be pretty solid. He's looked really impressive, arguably maybe more impressive than Innovation overall this tournament.
Well, Cure, what's also cool about him, he was one of the main practice partners for a lot of the other pro gamers out there, but we didn't see much of him on the main stage here.
Yeah.
Now that's changed. He's here. Rank 1 Korean GM, guys, that's, as far as any international ranking system goes, that's pretty good. I mean, considering it's not just Koreans playing on there. You have Taiwanese players as well as non-Koreans practicing on there, too.
This guy is literally the best player in the entire world when it comes to sitting at his house and pressing find match and go. Like, he is the most consistent out of any player who does that.
So the real question here is somebody who is statistically, throughout practice, just dominant. Well, hold that thought. Let's take a look at how these 2 players got here, and then I'll talk more.
오, 김도욱 선수? 김도욱 선수가 자기 실력이 제대로 나올 것 같아서
All right, let's go to the interview now with our 2 Terran players.
상대가 오늘 무대에서 가려지는데요. 자, 오랜만에 결승 진출을 노리는 이신영
So
선수와
everybody
첫
tonight will
결승
find out
진출을
who will
노리고
be
있는
that
김도욱
opponent against
선수,
Sue in the finals.
두 선수와 이야기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello, Innovation.
안녕하세요.
Hello, Cure. Hello.
자, 먼저 이신영 선수 T1 유니폼 잘 어울리십니다.
네.
네, 자.
He says you look good in that uniform, Innovation.
세 팀을 만나게 됐는데 자 테란 명가 SK텔레콤 T1
So you found a new nest in SK Telecom.
어떻게 소감이 어떠세요?
네, 저번 시즌에
So how are you feeling?
텔레콤의 테란
Now that you have a new home
라인이
at SK team.
약하다는 평가를 많이 들었는데
You know, the last Pro League, SK Telecom
들어옴으로써
had
그런 소리는 사라질 거라고 생각하고
a
있습니다.
reputation with their Terrans not playing as well. So I'm coming along here to help back up
SK텔레콤
the Terran side of
T1
SK team.
팬분들이 아주 좋아할 것 같은데요. 사실 이렇게 보니까 아이디를 보고
Yes, a lot of SK Telecom fans are cheering for innovation here in the studio.
이렇게 미래를 내다보고 지은 것인지 궁금하네요.
아니요, 아예 생각도 안 하고 지은 거긴 한데 어쩌다 보니까 이렇게 좋은 아이디와 팀이 만난 것 같아가지고 네, 괜찮은 것 같아요.
Sorry guys, I didn't catch that.
아이디를 잘 지어야겠다는 생각이 듭니다. 자, 군단의 심장에서
So, he says my ID is kind of my ID sort of matches up with their commercials.
합니다. 이 작년 시즌 초에 결승 진출 이후에 이신영 선수
So since Heart of the Swarm, Innovation was the only Terran to make it to the finals.
아, 네, 저도 뭐 다른 테란이 좀 하도 많이 잘해가지고 누군가 좀 올라가지 않았나 생각했는데 오늘 그 말을
You know, I think there's a lot of great Terran players like Maro.
또
And I was expecting them to make it to the finals several times, but unfortunately they didn't make it. So hopefully I'm going to be doing that, doing what they couldn't.
하겠습니다. 자, 워싱턴에서 화요일에 귀국한 걸로
All right,
알고
let's
있는데
talk
컨디션
to our
어떠세요?
Royal Rotor here, potential Royal Rotor here.
오자마자 잠자느라 바빴는데
So you're back
그래도
from Korea. You got back Tuesday.
시간
How are
별로
your conditions tonight?
없었는데 그래도 시간 활용 잘한 것 같아서
네.
He says, yeah, I pretty much have been sleeping since I got back.
워싱턴에서 태태전을 정말 많이
But I'm
하셨습니다. 워싱턴 대회가 득이 됐나요? 어떤가요?
제가 태태전이 엄청 단순했던
So you got a
것
lot of
같은데
TVT
이번에
matches.
가서 좀 많이 배웠던 것 같아요.
Was it good for you to have
오늘 경기 좀더
TVT
자신감이
matches? Are you feeling good for this
생기셨겠네요.
TVT match here today too?
예전과는
He says, yeah, I
좀
felt like I learned a lot there
다를
at the
수도
foreign
있을 것
tournament.
같아요.
이신영 선수
And I
자체를
feel
조금
prepared.
준비하는 데는 시간이 부족하지 않았을까 싶은데 연습을 어떻게 준비하셨어요?
시간이 없는 만큼 엄청
But was that enough
연습을
TVT
엄청 많이
practice
했어요.
to
단시간
face off
안에.
against Innovation?
그래서,
Says, you know, yeah, I wish I could have practiced a little bit more, but
잘-
when I did have time to
잘할 수
practice,
있을 것
I
같아요.
definitely focused hard.
김동 선수에게는 참
So I think I'm
막강한
going to play pretty well
도움이
tonight.
되는 연습 상대가 있었습니다. 조성주 선수가 있죠. 이신영 선수와 또 추억이 있는 분인데 많이 도와주셨나요?
So I think you got a really good practice partner. You have Maro on your team. Did he help you a lot in preparing for this?
네.
성주가 엄청 많이 도와줬어요.
He says, yeah, I asked him, how did you end up beating Innovation for
놀라지
nothing?
않으셨을까 싶은데 자 그래도 이신영 선수는 김동 선수 데뷔할 시간에 조금은 있지 않았을까 싶습니다. 대회 혹시 보셨어요?
네, 다 챙겨봤어요.
오늘 자신 있으세요?
He says, I think Innovation had time to practice against Curious. Did you watch the VOD?
오늘 4대0 당하실 것 같아서
네.
좀
If he plays just like he did in that recent tournament,
와 오늘 좀 다르게
I think I'm going to beat him 4-0 today.
자 이렇게 두 분의
He should have been playing
신경전까지 느낄
differently,
수가
Innovation
있는데요.
says.
자 오늘 이 두 선수 어떤 태태전을 보여줄지가 궁금합니다. GSL 첫 강력한 태태전이 될 것 같은데 들어가기 전에 서로에게 강력한 한마디씩 나눠보도록 하죠.
Really
먼저,
eager to see what kind of TVT matches we're going to be seeing here today. Before the matches, any final words to each other?
이신영 선수 예전에는 많이 존경하는 선수였는데 요즘은 폼이 많이
Innovation, I used to have
떨어지신
so
것
much respect for you in
같아요.
the past.
오늘
But your
연습대로만
skills have
하면
decreased a
충분히
lot.
이길 수 있을 것 같아요. 네.
와, 저 패기 넘치는 한마디였습니다. 자,
So it's you're
좀
very
폼이
doable.
떨어졌다고 하는
Winning, beating you is very doable. That sounds better.
아, 네, 오늘
What do you think about that statement,
되게
Innovation?
잘 됐다고 생각하고 또 나름
Look, I
스코어로
think I prepared really well
생각하고
for tonight.
4대0 아니면 4대1로 이길 것 같다고
와.
생각해서
I'll even predict my score.
끝낼 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
It's going to be either be
두 분 다
4-0 or
결과가
4-1.
어떻게 예상하세요? 4대0.
And okay, here, what are your predictions then?
4대0으로 이기는 법을 배워서
네.
4대0으로 이기도록 하겠습니다.
I learned from Maro how to beat
우리
Innovation.
모두 다
So I'll just beat him 4-0.
자, 이렇게 오늘 태태전에 나서는
He says, I wanna go
김동
home
선수와
early. I'm
이신영
tired.
선수의 이야기를 들어봤습니다.
That does
오늘
it for the
경기 시작하기
interview.
전에 이 두 선수의 데이터부터 확인해 보시죠.
Whoa! We're going to have a sick TVT.
Yes, we are, Tasteless. Look at the stats here in WCS. You can see Innovation has played a lot more televised matches. He's got a lot more experience in the booth in StarCraft II. This guy is, you know, a finalist. He's got a lot of experience on the big stage where it really counts. Cure being that possible Royal Rotor, you know, he's on a roll here, but can he stand up to the pressure right now? That's the question.
That is the question. I got a feeling that Cure can take this. And normally when I make predictions, I'm actually pretty conservative. I would just take a look at previous results. But Cure was looking really good. I'm happy to eat my words here if I'm wrong, but I think the way that Cure's been winning these games during this tournament, the fact that he's been ranked #1 on the ladder, the only thing he has to worry about is experience. But he certainly performed well at Battlegrounds.
Sure. At Battlegrounds, he did decently well. That's definitely true. I wonder if Innovation, though, because he's had some extra time to prepare and has had those matches, specifically in the TBT matchup to watch, does that give him an extra edge here? Whereas Cure, he just came back from a trip. He's only been here for about 3 days. He's been sleeping a lot. Is he in the zone right now?
A lot of people don't take into account the jet lag.
Yeah.
That usually takes you about a week or so to get over. So we'll see how he's feeling here tonight. Here's our map lineup. Merry-Go-Round, King Sejong Station, Catalina, Foxtrot, Labs, Nimbus, Overgrowth, and Deadwing.
Not a whole lot of Terran versus Terran data for these two players because, just frankly, there hasn't been a lot of Terran versus Terran in Korea in the past year. This is one of our very few Terran versus Terrans we get to see here in the GSL. But just looking at it, you can see both players have pretty high win rates on all the maps. A lot more maps played, on the other hand, by Innovation. And he's got several maps. He's got 5-0 on Merry-Go-Round, 4-0 on Nimbus, 3-0 on Catalina, and 7-1 on Overgrowth. His weakest map seems to be Deadwing. In fact, both of them having only 3 and 4 games played respectively, but it seems to be their weakest map. But it's only set 7, so not going to come into play too much here. Not a ton of data to really take up from this, I feel.
I know, understandably so. We haven't had... Unfortunately, we haven't seen hardly any TBTs. So we're really going to be learning right now what is the highest TBT meta in Korea right now. And this is a best of 7, guys. So we're going to be seeing a big variety of builds. Cure, keep this in mind. Since he's so high ranked on the ladder, that does not necessarily help you in a series as long as this.
Absolutely.
You have to have a big variety of builds in order to win a best of 7 and be able to, out-navigate your opponent as far as, in what order you open it up with these and on what maps and how can you throw his rhythm off. Innovation, on the other hand, he's got a lot of experience in not just stage matches, but big, long series like this. So we'll have to take a look at these first few games here from Cure. I think if Cure can get a good start, he should be fine and be able to close it out. But let's say Innovation wins the first 2, then I think I got to give it to Innovation. Yeah, I can't imagine Cure engineering enough builds to turn the entire series around.
I saw this stat recently in Korea, and all best of 7 series there's been, the player who wins the first game has like an 87% chance of winning the whole series.
Oh, wow.
The first game is so important, momentum-wise, going into a best of 7. But look at the best of 7 that he just recently played Cure against Bomber. He lost 4-0. Well, you do end up seeing a lot of 4-0s and 4-1s in best of 7s in finals in the GSL and overseas tournaments because you start to get nervous. It's so tense. It's so important.
Also, a 4-3 almost never happens unless it's 2 days ago.
Yeah, that was incredibly rare.
That's an incredibly rare thing. It's why a lot of tournaments actually stick with best of 5s because no matter what, it's at least going to look closer.
Right.
A 3-1 looks a lot closer than a 4-1, for instance.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's, of course, always a higher chance of having a 3-2. But let's see what happens here. Innovation, if you've been watching StarCraft II for the past few years, you certainly know who this guy is. When he was playing at his best and winning, it was the most brilliant Terran I'd ever seen. Doing these crazy SCV pulls. And I'm not just talking about pulling the boys, guys. I'm talking about there are moments he just, have a few engagements and then calculate it out and say, okay, now I think if I just send about, half my SCVs with this, I can win.
Yeah, I feel like Innovation is a very big picture type of player. He's able to assess the game very quickly and make very good judgment calls based on the situation. Very, split second oftentimes. Just, scan, be like, okay, this is exactly what I need to do right now. I know where I need to attack and I need to do it right now. Or, scan and say, I need to take another base right now. You can make these decisions very quickly based on the information that he has. You can see his stats here. He's got a pretty impressive record versus Terran. Look at the players he's played against. A lot of champions in there.
Looks like we're about to start this map. Cure against Innovation here. The winner of this series goes on to face off against Sue, the 4-time GSL finalist now. The map is going to be Merry-Go-Round, 3-player map.
Yeah, medium size, I would say.
Yeah.
Probably going to see at least 2 base versus 2 base play, I would imagine, on this map.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they both open, but it should at least go to a mid-game here. There's, obviously a lot of different Terran tech routes. We'll get a little bit more into that once this game picks up a little bit. And it's now loaded up, so get ready for game number 1 here in today's semifinals of the GSL Code S. In the upper right, in the red, just coming back from Battlegrounds, he is
GNL Green Wings Cure.
Every time I get a shot of that uniform, I keep thinking he has a tie on.
Yeah, same.
Down here in the bottom center, a household name for Terran players, he is
SK Telecom T1 Innovation.
Really strong TBT for a really long time. Even 2 seasons of Pro League ago, even when he was playing under the ID Bogus, he was quite good at TBT.
Do you like the ID Bogus better, or?
Yeah, actually I do.
Yeah, Artosis and I are talking about this. We all like Bogus better.
It just has a bit of a better ring to it, I feel.
Well, I also think if you're as good as he is, then the name's Bogus, it works.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we both, these players are going gas first, really early on here. So you're going to be getting their techs out, getting that factory up really quick. Probably going to start with the Reaper, though. And just see what each other are doing. So it's not a big variation out of these two for builds right now.
Look at that. That person just got a GSL coin.
Just you wait.
Yeah, that's Sue up there in the sun.
So this map, there's a lot of places for Reapers to jump up in there, get a little bit of scouting information. And this matchup right now, it becomes a bit difficult to hide tech because of that Reaper.
Yeah, that is true. The Reaper can get out fast enough that it is pretty much going to get in your base.
Yeah.
There's still a few things you can do after you've knocked it out. But the Reaper definitely changed this matchup a lot since people are getting scouted so easily. So we now have the factory coming up here. And as you can see, they're actually both going to open up with the Marine quickly here. The fact that they got gases first may lead to them going for some kind of starport opening here.
Yeah.
And going for Banshees, perhaps.
Yeah, or perhaps a quick drop. Both of them skipping the Reaper, just in favor of getting that faster factory tech. Marines fighting each other. And let's wait and see how these two builds kind of differ, if they differ at all. We see a tech lab going
this
down.
is definitely going to be a Banshee then here for Kira. Let's take a look down here.
Just getting that Reaper a little bit delayed. Innovation is, as you get the scouting information, decides to play a little bit safer after getting that Marine out. And yeah, exactly as you predicted, Tasteless going right on the starport, or rather on the tech lab, so we can get that Banshee out immediately when the starport is finished.
Meanwhile, the Reaper here for Innovation is going to come out. Now that is a later Reaper than normal, so let's see if he can get inside and see what's going on.
Yeah, he actually scouts the incorrect direction. Neither of these players scouting until just now. This is the first scout we've seen on the map.
That's something definitely good to point out. We didn't mention earlier there. Both these players want to use every single SCV to mine. They don't want to send a single worker out to check where the opposing player is. And that's where we're seeing a scout here from a Hellion from one player and a Reaper from another. And so Innovation is about to be spotted here by Cure.
Yeah, he's going to.
Is he just going to go in? Hello.
Yeah, we'll actually be able to.
Well, doesn't this just look a little bit awkward?
Should be able to, kill this without taking any losses. We might actually escape. Nah, barely not. But let's see how this plays out, because he did get a Viking out early on, and this Banshee should be shut down pretty easily by that if he decides to send it out right away. And he's going to do a little bit of a poke and a scout on his own. Innovation, that is, up at the front.
Okay, and he's going to land there now. The Banshee is coming out here shortly. Looks like it's going to be rallied up towards where his entrance is. That'll drive out the Reaper and the two Hellions. Now we have a Raven being made right now.
Yeah, that's going to grant him detection, and will be later on important for PDDs to soak up those projectiles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, we have Widow Mines popping out here for Cure. So both these guys doing good builds. They identified what the other players were doing and started immediately trying to counter it.
Yeah.
So this game, neither side being too aggressive. What's really important to notice, though, is that they actually are reacting really well to each other.
Yeah.
They're reading each other and responding very, very well.
That's very accurate.
Now, we have one command center just now finishing for Cure. which should be sent to the main shortly here. Meanwhile, Innovation's command center, it's going to be a little bit.
And Cure even goes for a third command center here. So he's getting 3 C's up really early, which is going to give him a lot of extra mules, a lot of extra minerals. But it is going to make his army a little bit weaker for the time being.
You know, I got to say, I actually like Cure's build a little bit better here.
Me too.
I think that considering these guys had to switch techs a little bit here and make a few adjustments, you might as well just go for getting more workers, since I don't think either player is going to really be able to effectively attack the other one.
Yeah, I agree.
Most of what we're seeing here is them poking into each other and trying to get a read on what's going on. And so he now have Innovation actually going to go, it looks like, for mech play here. He's got the 2 factories. Artosis would be very pleased right now.
No doubt about it.
You see with Cure, he's going to go for STEM. So we have the 2 different tech routes being shown to us right now. We have some players that like to go for more infantry, sometimes even pure infantry, although that can be a questionable move. Other times we have players that want to go for marine siege tank, but there are the rare kind that go a little bit more like the Brood War players used to go and go straight up for mech.
Now this Banshee is good.
Whoa, that was a disaster. He wasn't even hitting workers. He was actually shooting the turret.
That was a terrible disaster. So that was an investment that was not well used.
Yeah, man. No, he just drunk drove that Banshee into the turret, man. I have no other explanation.
I didn't even get him any
scouting. It's not supposed to happen in a GSL semifinals, guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
nerves could play a factor here.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely a big mistake there. Let's see exactly what Innovation wants to get done with this Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade he's got finished up right now. He doesn't have a massive amount of Hellions, so he may just want to do a drop here, see if he can get some damage done with Blue Flame that way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, there's not much reason to rush that out here.
It's also interesting that we do have the Hellions parked out here. I don't believe that Innovation's going to be able to do too much early on with this mech. The one problem when you do go for mech, generally speaking, is that mech is just not that mobile, guys. Yes, I know Hellions are fast units, but mech overall is not quick. Thors are not fast. Siege tanks are best when they're in siege mode, which means they can't move. So usually a way a good Terran like Cure in this case would attempt to punish a player like Innovation for meching is to take advantage of his mobility. So you want to drop in different locations.
Yeah.
You want to engage them when they're not in proper form, for instance, when they're unsieging. Now, one of the responses that the really, really good Terran players have done, and we see a little bit of this with Innovation, is he's making a handful of Vikings early on, which he's patrolling around the map with here, because he knows his real weakness, his Achilles heel, is going to be drops from Cure. So he has, I believe it's 2 Ravens? No, I'm sorry, it's 1 Raven and then 4 Vikings. And it's just to the upper left side of Innovation's main base here. And so what he can do with that is he can actually shoot down any drops that come. Now, that's great and all, but then take a look at what Cure's doing. Cure is not even engaging that. He's just going to expand again and keep consuming the map. Cure should be able to get maxed out long before Innovation does. It takes a little bit longer to get maxed out when you're meching here in TVT.
Yeah. So we do have a little bit of a drop loaded up right now, and it's going to be a Hellbat drop, so finally we're going to get to see that Blue Flame come into play a little bit here, and it's going to be able to try to kill some SCVs. That's one thing you can do with mech, is to just fly around the map doing Hellion drops, and you know, that little Viking patrol here, not only is it going to be useful for cleaning up drops, like you said, but it could be, you know, quite handy for vision for his siege tanks later on when he does start slow pushing across the map. So it's a really good investment. Let's see how much damage these drops get done. He hasn't actually sent them anywhere just yet. He's just kind of got them loaded up here. He's going to send them, I guess, fairly soon. Or maybe he's just going to try to break a line with them, you know, just drop on top of siege tanks. That's another possibility of what he does with these.
Yeah, he certainly could. We'll have to see. You have this 1 Raven. This is interesting. I wonder what the plans are with that
harass, it looks like.
Yeah, I guess so. He's just going to chuck down a few auto turrets.
That could be kind of annoying to deal with.
Well, I mean, again, think about it. He does not have a mobile army, right?
Yeah. So it looks like he's just going to try to drop these Hellions on top of the bio and the siege tanks. They do a lot of AoE damage, especially the light units like Marines. That looks like it's the plan here.
Cure's expanding again. Innovation, by the way, has not missed a beat here with his macro. This guy's gas is never getting too high.
Never.
Immediately spends it again. Now we have Him bunching up right here outside of his base. We looks like Cure might actually go in, and we saw that Raven headed down there. It looks like it's going to actually get there after this attack occurs.
All right, here we go. He's getting ready.
I'm actually a bit surprised Cure's pushing in here. Let's see if this actually works.
Keep in mind, he doesn't know these units are in the medevacs. Now he does. Here they come, dropping on top of the siege tanks. And this entire Cure army, most of the Marines are already
just going to get wrecked. I don't even know. I mean, I was actually hoping that I was going to see something I didn't know happened back there with that initial attack there from Cure. But yeah, I mean, he could just keep dumping these Hellbats right on top of this army, and the amount of damage that's being dealt to all these units. There's no way the medevacs can be stopped here healing these Hellbats. I mean, this is just so much damage. Okay, so look at the supply now in the aftermath of that battle. It's 112 to 159. Mech units, guys, actually a mech army deals the most damage in the game.
Yeah.
Like upon initial firing.
Tasteless, here's something to consider. I mean, sorry to cut you off. I just want to mention this point before I forget. Maybe he didn't maybe he saw that army and he was like, "This army is too small," because he doesn't realize that it's all loaded up into the medevac. So maybe he scanned and he was like, "That looks really small."
That is possible. You know, he might have thought, "Okay, there's probably more siege tanks somewhere else." For instance, not as many Hellbats. That's possible, Wolf. Also important to note here is that when you have a supply lead here with mech against bio, there's almost nothing the bio army can do but counterattack from here. You can't really out-micro them usually, and we're going to see this highlighted right here.
Yeah, because as you were saying, mech is the strongest maxed-out army in the game, and here he goes.
I suppose there's some argument to be made for like Swarm Hosts, Brood Lords, Infestor, or something like that, because you get so many free units, but I mean, I think everybody watching gets the idea, basically. This is a mech army deals so much damage, it's so meaty. And beyond other things, like it can be repaired, despite the lack of mobility, when you're in a position like this, you just steamroll your opponent.
Yeah, when mobility does not become an issue, then you just walk through it. Steamrolling I think is the best way to put it, Tases. I could actually just go drop on this.
Raffle stomp is the proper term.
Well, with these, man, it's like a Raffle copter, man. He's up in the sky dropping on him.
This might just be a Raffle bop, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a great display of mules being dumped all over the base of Cure simply to insult him before finishing it off with injury.
GG.
Innovation wins that so convincingly. I'm a little bit concerned right now for Cure.
Well, that was one of those TBTs that gets decided in one misengagement. It's just how TBT goes.
Let's go back to the very beginning, right? They were both playing really well at the very, very early game. They both read each other's openers, responded well, they got into a defensive position. Then there was this really weird moment where Cure flew his Banshee into a turret.
Yeah.
And, you know, you and I were both scratching our heads saying, well, that's a bit odd for a semifinals of Code S. But then we have an engagement that I was really actually worried about when I saw occurring, because when you're up against a mech player, you're not going to actually push a mech player on his third base with your Marine siege tank, a Sun Marauder army.
Yeah.
That actually just does not work.
Unless you're so sure you can win the fight. Like, you have to have the utmost confidence.
I'm trying to think of any game that I've seen TBT where people actually just push that against siege tanks, get in there and shut that off. I mean, first of all, he's going to have more tanks than you do.
Yeah. He's got the defender's advantage. He's already
the fact that you see the medevacs there at all tells you there have to be Hellbats, because why else would he have that in a meching army? He would have had just pure Viking or something else there. Very odd game here from Cure. I don't know if it's nerves or jet lag or what it is, but I hope we're going to see a better game here from Cure in game number 2.
Yeah, I want to give him another chance in game number 2. That was just a game that was essentially decided by one poor choice. I mean, the Banshee micro notwithstanding, he just engaged poorly. And like you said, if you're ahead in supply as a mech player against a bio player, you pretty much just move across the map and win, as long as you've got defensive set up at home. If he plays better in game number 2, I feel like, he can turn this back around. But if he plays like game number 1 yet again, I think Innovation might just have too much momentum at that point.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what happens now. Game number